Welcome to Coordinating Your Chaos with the Blended Mama. My name is Teresa Stone. I am the Blended Mama, and on this channel, we help busy women find calm in the chaos of life through community and planning. Hello, friends. Hello. January is wrapping up, and February is right around the corner. And that means it is time for our monthly reflection and next month prep. So, if you have been feeling a little off track, maybe a little overwhelmed, don't worry, my friend. You are not alone, and this is the perfect time to pause, reset, and make a game plan for the new month. So, grab your planner, a cozy drink. I have my tea sitting here beside me, and let's walk through this together. And I'm going to just go ahead and give you the permission to pause where you need to. Some of these questions might take a little bit longer than what I give you, but I want you to really take the time to go through these questions, reflect on how this month has gone, and set yourself up for success in February. So, before we get into February, we are going to reflect on January. I think this is a vital piece of our monthly planning processes, and this can really add a lot of value. So, think about the questions that I'm going to ask you, jot your answers down in your planner, your journal, wherever it is that you are keeping your notes. And then we're going to move over to February after this. Okay. So while we're thinking about January, what went well this month? That's the first question you're going to ask yourself. What went well? What do you want to continue to carry forward into February? So celebrate the wins, whether they were big wins, small wins. Maybe you stuck with a habit. Maybe you hit a business goal. Maybe you just made it through a tough week. Whatever it was, write that down. But I also want you to think about, for those things that went well, for the habits, what were the things that helped to make those successful? Jot those down, because those are the behaviors that you're going to want to continue to do into February, right? Because your habit wasn't just for January. That's something you want to keep doing long term. So you want to make sure that the things that you did this month that helped you be successful in that you would continue to do those things going forward. We also have to think about the challenges that we're facing, right? Was there something that threw you off course? Did life throw you a curveball? Maybe there was a routine that didn't stick, or maybe unexpected things popped up. What can we learn from that, right? So I will be working on, and we'll kind of talk through this with the February too, but I know that I'm still working on my routines a little bit, especially my evening routines. They're just, for whatever reason, they're just a little bit harder for me. But I know that some of our chaos coordinators in our community had curveballs thrown at them, and life just got hard, and they just had to deal with it. They had to go with the flow. They had to adjust. And I think when you're looking at those challenges, it's important to think about, how did you handle them? Did you handle it well? Were you able to adjust and continue to go forward, or did it totally derail you? And I think that's where it's important for us to understand how we react. And those may be some areas that we just need to do a little more work on ourselves. But also, if you handled it with grace and you continued to do the best that you could, celebrate that, because challenges are going to come. Life is not easy. And I think it's important for us to recognize when we handle it well, and to acknowledge that and celebrate it. And when we don't handle it well, that we learn from it. So don't just think about these in the negative, oh, life was really hard or whatever. But think about, what can we learn from those challenges? Which goes to my next question. What is one thing that you learned about yourself this month? I think every month teaches us something. So think about, what was your takeaway from January, whether that was related to a challenge, whether it was related to success, or just totally just life, right? What did you learn about yourself? And also, if you could redo one thing, what would that be? And I don't want you to think about that from like a place of regret, but from a mindset of just learning and adjusting. And, if this same situation came up the next time, what would you do differently, so that you can be better prepared to handle it? So once you've taken some time to reflect, also take a moment to celebrate your progress. Even if it wasn't a perfect month, I know mine wasn't a perfect month, you made it through, and that by itself is worth acknowledging. Alrighty. Whew. All right, so we reflected. Now it is time to refresh and reset. for February, we're going to create a clean slate for the new month. So here's a few tasks that you can do. You may need to write these down as just some actions to take for the next couple of days. But the first thing you're going to want to do is clear out the clutter. So maybe that's taking a few minutes to tidy up your planner. I know that I will need to take out my January planning and journaling, add in my February. But there's also some inserts that I'm just not using. So I need to clean those out or establish a habit tracker to help me use them, right? Maybe it's cleaning out your workspace. My desk is definitely a hot mess right now. And so that needs to happen. But you might also want to remove anything that's distracting. Maybe I get distracted by clutter. So like this back table over here definitely needs to get cleaned off. I had an event this past weekend. I still have stuff all over the floor over here. All these things need to get cleaned up and put away. And so that is on my to-do list for this week. Perhaps even tonight, we'll just see what happens. But definitely clean up clutter, distractions, all that sort of stuff, because you really want to just reset for the new month. This is also a great time to look at your routines and make adjustments where you need to. So did your morning or your evening routine work for January? And if not, what needs to change? So I added in my February P&J, I started working on it. I haven't finished yet. If you saw, I did share it on Instagram, but I have my routines here. And I'm still going to add some new things, but I did add trackers for no scrolling and going to bed by 9 o'clock, because listen, I get up at 5, and the morning routine that I'm tracking is not hitting the snooze, because I have started to fall into that habit. I don't really want to continue that. So I want to, correct it now before I'm, waking up at 6 o'clock instead of 5. So what are things that you can put into place to help you with that, right? So for me, I just need to be more intentional about it and more aware of it. So having the habit trackers by itself is usually enough for me. But you may need to think about, doing habit stacking. If you've read Atomic Habits, you know what habit stacking is, but maybe you just have that habit at the wrong time and you just need to move it somewhere else in your schedule so that it flows better. So you may need to think about those type of adjustments. And then we also need to look through our unfinished tasks. Is there something that you were supposed to do in January that needs to roll over to February? Are there things that you can just let go and it's okay that you didn't finish it and you don't need to go back and do it? Those are things that you need to consider as you're setting up your month of February. So again, this is a great time to just reset your mindset. If January didn't go as planned, that's okay, my friend. You don't need a new year. You just need a new day to start again. And that can be today. It can be tomorrow. It can be February 1st. But you can start over and it's okay. Okay. All right. So the third step we're going to talk about today is planning for February. So you have reflected, you have reset and given yourself a clean slate, and now it's time to plan for February. So we're going to map out your new month, and I'm going to give you a few key things for you to focus on as you're setting up your month. So I really want you to think about setting your top 3 goals. So instead of overwhelming yourself with a long list, which you can still create the long list, but I really want you to pick 3 key things that you want to focus on in February. What if you, and the way I kind of like to think about it is, if you only got 3 things done, and to consider yourself a success, what would those 3 things be? So if you, maybe it is setting a business goal that you really want, like maybe it's implementing something in your business that you really want to do. Maybe it is, some self-care things. Maybe you want to have a certain number of, coffee meetups with your friends or things like that. What is it that is really important to you for this month? And that if you only achieved those 3 things, you would still consider the month a success. That's your top 3 goals. Let's also, of course, mark any important dates that you have in February. So that's birthdays, appointments, deadlines. Go ahead, get those in your planner now if they're not already there, because those things are going to be important and you're going to want to make sure that you meet those dates. You may also want to consider choosing a word or theme for the month. I know a lot of us do word of the year, theme of the year for the new year. Mine is less is more. That is my overarching theme. But this month, I really am going to be focusing on taking care of myself and making sure that I am doing the things that I need to do to fill my cup so that I can be the best me for my family, for my husband, for my kids, and for my friends, for my customers, for my team. I know that I have to take care of me, and so that's what I'm focusing on this month. And I'm also on the business side, I'm focusing on my follow-up systems and actually doing the follow-up because I know how vital that is. And I'm looking to improve those systems that I already have and just make them better. But I do like having that kind of focus for the month. It just gives me a little bit more structure and gives me that key thing that I really want to focus on. And then let's also maybe think about a new habit that you're wanting to implement. What is one small thing that you can do on a daily basis or a weekly basis that is going to make a difference in your life? Maybe we're already trying to implement a new habit from last month and it just didn't go. Maybe that's what you're focusing on is fully implementing that habit. So I want you to write all those things down in your planner so that you can see them often, so that it's visible and that you can remember what your priorities are for this month. So as we're wrapping up, I want you to remember progress is so much more important than perfection. If you are part of our book club, we are reading Finish by John Acuff. It is so good. If you're not in book club, I still highly recommend it. I'll drop a link for it in the show notes. But if January did not go how you hoped, my friend, you do not have to wait for another big milestone to start fresh. Just take the next step. I would love to hear from you in the comments. So what is your word for February? What is one goal that you're setting? Drop a comment. I would love to hear from you, and let's keep each other accountable. Thank you so much for watching today. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more tips and inspiration, and watch that next video to keep coordinating your chaos.